When mortals died in Greek mythology, they were sent to the underworld, a location that could be bad or good depending on a mortal's earthly deeds. Many mortals feared death, and therefore fear the underworld. But there was another place even worse. Both a location and a deity that brought dread to every being that heard his name. The primordial god of the pit, Tartarus. Like the other primordials, Tartarus was both an immortal being and an earthly concept. While his concept was the deep pit within the earth, as a god, Tartarus was a dark-skinned man with rough diamond-like skin. He also took the form of a great giant made of earth. But no matter his form, wherever he went, a great frown usually accompanied his face. Tartarus' first mention in mythology is during the creation myth, where he is the second child of Chaos and brother to Gaia, Nyx, and Erebus. The moment after being born, Gaia created the earth. Interested in his sister's creation, Tartarus decided to form a great cavern within the earth's deepest point. He wanted a place where he could be alone and wouldn't be disturbed. And so Tartarus began to dig. The cavern/pit was surrounded by walls of solid stone and unbreakable adamantine. Dripping down from the ceiling were stalactites that were bigger than trees. The floor was covered in hills of sharp rocks and pools of magma that brought light to the pit. Tartarus was happy with his new home. He had dug so deep that if one were to drop an anvil from the surface of the earth, it would take 9 days to reach the pit. It was perfect for Tartarus, who wanted to be left entirely alone. Unfortunately, Tartarus' silence was about to be disturbed multiple times. The first disturbance came from Nyx and Erebus. They wanted to make a home in the pit, and so pestered Tartarus for permission. Irked with his siblings' constant requests, Tartarus granted them permission, ordering them to build their new home at the edge of his cavern. And so Nyx and Erebus built a great black palace at the edge of the pit. A decision that Tartarus instantly regretted, because not long after, Tartarus noticed many new voices coming from the edges of his pit. Nyx had just given birth to a large flock of children, most of whom decided to stay and live within the Black Palace. The next disturbance came from Tartarus' sister, Gaia. She excitedly told him about the children she had with Uranus. She described her 12 Titan children as beautiful beings, each with unique and fascinating personalities. She then told Tartarus about her 6 youngest children, the Cyclopes triplets who were amazing builders, and the Hecatonchires triplets who were amazingly strong. Nodding his head while barely listening, Gaia stated something that instantly made his head snap towards her. Overjoyed with her children, Gaia wanted more, and so asked Tartarus to sire a child with her. Hearing this, Tartarus refused and ran while a grinning Gaia chased. But eventually, Tartarus caved. And so the first child of Tartarus was born, the first Dracaena, Campe. Leaving her daughter with her father, Gaia returned to the surface. Sighing, Tartarus left Campe to her own devices while retreating to his favorite spot to be alone. Sadly for Tartarus, the next disturbance came soon after. While trying to regain some silence, wailing cries suddenly rang throughout the pit. Gaia's 6 youngest, the Cyclopses and the Hecatonchires, had just been banished by their father to Tartarus' pit. Furious with his silence being broken, Tartarus built a giant prison along the walls of the pit and imprisoned the 6 crying immortals. In prison, their cries were muffled out. Later, Cronus, the newly crowned king of the universe, came to the pit. Hiding in the shadows, Tartarus watched his malicious nephew. Scared and disgusted of his brothers, Cronus ordered Campe to torture the Cyclopes and the Hecatonchires to keep them weak. Their screams rang through the prison walls, but instead of annoyance, Tartarus felt a pleasant tingle go through his body. Shaking his head at the odd feeling, Tartarus returned to his favorite spot. Many years passed, and Tartarus was content within his pit. Until one day, the sound of a great battle woke him from his slumber. Rushing to investigate, Tartarus appeared at the prison only to find the prisoners gone and his daughter Campe dead. That day, the great pit trembled with furious abundance. Not long after, an enraged Gaia appeared before him. Zeus and the Olympians had defeated the Titans and had banished many of them to the prisons of the pit. Wanting revenge for her children, Gaia requested Tartarus's help. Tartarus agreed, wanting revenge for his daughter Campe. And so the Earthborn giants were born to wage war on the Olympians. But the giants lost the war, and so Gaia came to Tartarus one last time. Seeing this revenge as a lost cause, but knowing Gaia would persist, he didn't even bother to argue. And so Tartarus's last child was born, the horrendous creature known as Typhon, the king of monsters. Over the next millennia, the prisons of the pit grew larger and larger. Many of the Olympians' enemies, as well as sinful mortals, were sent there, a list we shall focus on at a later date. But even though Tartarus enjoyed his silence, after watching the prisoners of the pit getting tormented over the years, he came to truly enjoy the noise of tortured screams within his home. Well, there you have it. I give you the wild Greek mythology of Tartarus, the primordial god of the pit. Hey, if you enjoyed my video, then please give it a thumbs up. There's plenty more videos about mythology, fairy tales, and folklore on the way, so make sure to subscribe and tap the bell icon so you don't miss out. Also, if you would like me to do a video on a subject or character within mythology, please let me know in the comments. Well, that's all for now. Cheers until the next wild mythology.